Good afternoon. Welcome to a new segment that, again, I've never done before. Today we are doing an artist profile on a man known as Joel Felix, or as some of you may know, Joel Felix. He is a musician, he is a streamer, and a general just fucking idiot.
General? I'm a general, am I?
General, I can't write. Shut. Oh, fuck, man. Fuck you. Oh, I'm not even doing this anymore. Screw you. So
anyway, you've got some questions, I believe.
No, mate. I was planning on doing an artist profile of me just explaining to people, and you just sort of sit and listen to it. To be honest.
Right.
My first question to you, Mr. Felix, is obviously being a streamer and a musician. What made you want to do streaming?
So multiple different things, really. I was thinking about doing it, I think, alongside final year stuff, but it wasn't necessarily one of those things that worked out because I had a lot of work to do, and I've basically got when I was applying for the masters, it was one of those things where I got a place with fee waiver stuff because I got a first, and I think when I was thinking about how thank you very much, when I was thinking about how to plan out like what I would do over the year, I think very much some part of me was like, I need to do some music for it because I'm doing music for the documentary as well. So I was thinking, well, why not do what Deadmau5 effectively had done, because he managed to, I don't know how popular he was. I followed him briefly before he got kicked off the platform, but I was thinking, well, I can use it as a means to not only showcase some of the stuff I'm doing with the music and sort of show evidence that I've done it for the case of my masters, but also it's one of those things where I can effectively, if it goes well, I can monetize off the fact that people like to watch me play games, which is what I like to do in my spare time. So win-win, really. That was the main sort of motivator anyway, but I say motivator, main reason I wanted to do it. Motivators came from two sources. One which was, I'll do the cheesy one first. A streamer called Pokimane, which I think when I looked at...
Isn't that really,
I know.
really, really attractive lass that everyone watches purely for, her streaming?
Yeah, purely for streaming. Yeah, but I think of it, it was one of those things where I found out that she's of similar age to us. I don't know, I think technically she would have been a year above us if we were at school, for example. But it makes me think, it's like, well, actually, you've kind of plugged at this and you've got popular, so I can give it a crack, see if people like what I do. And I think I gradually, the more I've done the masters, the more I realised I want to get into content creation. Don't get me wrong, I'll happily look for doing audio positions and all that, because I found a love for doing, like a passion for doing Foley and sort of post-sound work in my final year of uni. But there's something about content creation which is quite rewarding. I feel it looks like it's quite rewarding. You get a community that goes, which is very, very nice. And you are effectively, if you do it well, you make a living off doing something you like to do. And I think that that's something that we all need to ideally be doing, is doing something that you love to do. And getting paid for it, because otherwise you hate life. Well, I say hate life. You're going to hate the job that you're doing, and then that's not really something that you're going to really enjoy as part of your life. So really, you want to be living life the way you want to. And the other person was actually a mate of mine who got into streaming a couple of years prior to me starting. And I very much was like, oh yeah, I'll support him and all that. And I think he invited me to do a music stream where we did a music challenge. I have to send you the VOD for it because well, I don't think the first one I didn't stream. The first one we all did separately and came onto the stream to discuss, and that was quite funny. And then the second one I decided, I'll do it as a stream because then people can see what I'm doing on my end. The second one didn't go as well because everything went wrong. Because one of the things I seem to have happen a lot is when I think I have prepared enough for it, and then it gets to the moment and literally every worst case scenario seems to happen, which is not fun. But yeah, we did a music series before coronavirus happened, and that's left him without a PC to really stream. I say it left. He did stream for a while, and then his PC died on him, so he's getting a new PC. So we haven't touched on the music challenge for a while, but I'd love to get back involved with him. But yeah, he kind of was the main person who was like, I'm going to start streaming because you're doing a thing, so it makes sense for me to do it as part of this challenge series that we'd done. So that really kicked things off. And then, yeah, as I said, my inspirations and the fact I really kind of wanted to do some sort of content creation, streaming as part of tying in with my masters as well, and just something to do in my free time.
That's fair. I mean, that was the first question, and we're already 6.5 minutes in, so I definitely got enough information from you there.
Well, I'm glad I can be of assistance, Daniel.
I definitely think one of the main aspects that's very appealing for streaming itself is the community around it. Obviously, when you're streaming, you want that interaction with your fans, and I know that's obviously something that you have. You have the loyal viewers who come and watch you and sort of interact with you. Do you think one of the main aspects of the appeal of streaming is having that little community that is based around you, if you know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, when I started doing streaming, I kind of wanted to do a bit of content creation alongside it, because it kind of pairs naturally. At least it's something that's occurred to me, is that on YouTube, from a statistic point of view, you're more likely to do well there because people, often the videos are like 10-minute segments or whatever. It's a highlight, like, it's a place where people go to see highlights, and especially in an age where we're at, you can really cram, like, people's attention spans are like that, so everyone's trying to watch and process information at a ridiculous rate. So in terms of a numbers and trying to get an audience, I've noticed that YouTube's generally better, but the nice thing about Twitch is that you can interact with those audience members. It's one of those things as well where it's important in order to do well to talk to your audience, because otherwise you do have these streamers who just come on and play games, and it's just like,
yeah, you get a lot of that. A lot of people that just sort of sign on and go, well, this is me playing a game and enjoy, I guess. And there's no real passion or enthusiasm for it, if you know what I mean.
But the problem often with that is the fact that it's hard to start and get an audience, so you really need to plug it a lot beforehand, because otherwise it's actually quite I found it, at least to start with, it's difficult to vibe off if there's no one to vibe off. And it's just kind of like one of those things, like, how do you create that chattiness?
It's a bit really like a band, isn't it? If you think about it, like, if you're not really vibing with it, then you've got nothing to work with.
Yeah, exactly. If you have no audience members, it's kind of like, well, why am I here, sort of thing. Or even trying to be like, how are you doing, guys, and doing the things that really gets the crowd hyped up. But there's no crowd there, so it's like,
the back who's just like, yeah.
Yeah, the guy who's just sat with a pint of beer right next to the sound guy, and you're just like, how are you doing out there? Can we get a shout out, please, to our fantastic audience?
Hey.
Sips pint. So it is very much it is one of those things that's hard, but you've got to create a buzz around it.
Yeah.
And if you're genuinely interested to get into it, you want to show your interest, really. So a lot of this stuff I did, and And I feel like I can improve on it because I look at it and it's like, if I treated this like my full-time job, I'd be doing this, in order to create more of a sort of buzz around it and actually apply some marketing techniques. But at least to get a start, I was inviting family members and friends. I still do. Get a Discord chat running as well to keep people updated. Twitter's a bit of a hard zone to play, really. I think you need to actually be doing a lot of communication on Twitter, and I have 2 accounts, so it's a little bit difficult. So I don't really use Twitter as much, but it's still creating a buzz. Going into all the group chats and be like, guys, I'm doing a stream, come along, have a listen to what we're doing, because this will be content that you like, or this is my channel. I'm not doing stuff today that you might be interested, but come along to this. Because for you, for example, I've invited you occasionally to the stream because I know you're not fond of the Jackbox stuff, but you've kind of teetered in and out of the idea of streaming. And it's one of those things where it's like, I'm not going to invite you if I don't think you're going to like it, because otherwise I'm just going to annoy you by saying, come to this, Dan, come to this, come to it. So I'm also, it's selective and going, I know you're not a fan of this, but we're doing this later. Like, I think there was one time I invited you to Cards Against Humanity because I think you would actually more enjoy that than the Jackbox stuff, which can be anywhere from random sort of party games where you're trying to date someone to more of the Quiplash stuff, Cards Against Humanity stuff in Quiplash rather. So it's been trying to play to who you think would like what sort of content as well, so you're not just randomly scattershotting. And I think this is the same if you were to take this from a streaming world over to the music industry. Now there's mixed opinions on it, I feel, but at least with the music industry, I'm not comfortable accidentally not my mic there. I'm not comfortable with doing scattershot networking, because through several books I've read and also through my experience, it's like, well, who's this guy that is just come out of nowhere? I think if you can express an interest in somewhere you really want to work, for example, going to like maybe the director of that company and being like, yo, this is my CV, this is all the things I've done, if you've got a free spot, like that sort of scattershot networking works. But at least in my opinion, you need to stand out to whoever you're trying to network with. And so that kind of comes into the same with streaming. If you're to think about networking less of a professional wise, like in a professional sense, instead of trying to form a sort of agreement with an employer, for example, you're trying to form like, not an agreement, but you're trying to get an audience in. So it's networking smart, I think. I like to network smart and not just go, hey, here's a video I've done, because the success, it's like with the Facebook ads. If you do that and you don't actually target your audience, then it's very much like you might find this 50-year-old comes across some music event or like some gaming event which is designed for like 12-year-old weebs or whatever. And it's like, your 50-year-old's not going to be interested in that shit. So it's networking, but being smart about it.
Fair enough. That was a lot for me to fucking process and answer all at once. But I'll just nod and say yes.
Yes. It's an interesting.
I didn't ask for another.
What's
answer,
the original
mate.
question?
You've just
No.
I'm.
No, that's fine. Because the original question is, I think, building an audience, and it ultimately it's one of those things where, looking around it, an audience is like networking, but you network in a more personal way. So it's just don't plug random shit to them. Just plug stuff you think they'll actually like.
Fair do. Oh, I fucking love you. Right, well, very quickly moving on from streaming, because I'm afraid I might run out of fucking memory by the time we get to the end of this. My next question is moving away from streaming and more into music. Now, I've only heard a very few things that you've done obviously I know that you're a drummer, but obviously I also know that you make your own songs. So when writing songs, they're instrumental, aren't they?
Primarily, I'm not really a singer-songwriter sort of person, so I don't have these lyrics. I mean, I've been getting into lyric writing with rap and stuff, which I like to continue sort of a little bit more of that.
Cool.
At least when I want to release music by myself.
Yeah.
At the moment, there's a lot of distractions going on, and I struggle with lots of different distractions trying to focus on one task. So at the moment, that's a bit of a back burner to a degree, because I'm hoping to use the music I've been making for this documentary for my masters and use that, because it's got very hip hop influenced like grounding.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd like to use some of the tracks or maybe add a few more to it as well.
Speaking of grounding, can I ask the question yet?
Yeah.
Oh, I love you, Joel. I don't even have to ask the questions, mate. I'm just going to let you talk for fucking half an hour.
It's just...
This is Joel's artist's profile. Here he is talking about everything for 35 minutes.
Yeah. It's like I answer the question. I'm a psychic. Did you not know?
I don't even have to fucking ask you. Like, it's just going to be an entire video of just you. So... Thanks for making my job easier. But no, like, it kind of relates to what you was talking about. I was going to say, like, when writing music, do you have a certain sound that you go for, or do you have a certain goal? And like you said about the documentary, you're writing music for the documentary. Do you ever just write something and go, right, I want to use this as a single, or I want to use this as an album, or I want to use this as the documentary soundtrack? Or do you just sort of write it and then decide after what it would fit with most?
I think it depends on the sort of vibe that I get off the track first. A lot of the singles I've written as part of uni, for example, like, at first I liked going that sort of wave with the EDM, and like, because initially my interest was doing dance music, and I think the more my taste developed over uni, the more I kind of leaned towards doing hip hop, because then I have more of a personal thing and it's not just slapping an instrumental at you. And I think doing more of the sort of rhythmic wordplay stuff is, well, it plays more to the drummer aspect inside me, and I think I do write more rhythmically as opposed to melodically and sort of harmonies. I don't write complex harmonies. I wouldn't even say rhythm-wise I do, but I try and find something that is catchy rhythm-wise, that sort of flows. So, wait, what's the original question again? Just remind me.
When you write music, do you write it for anything like in particular? Do you write it for a documentary or for a single, for an album, or do you just kind of decide after you've written it?
Yeah. So why did I go off that path again?
Oh, I don't know, man.
I think
fair,
I'm thinking
paths.
about it.
Like, I don't know which way my fucking dog's going, which way I'm going. I've gone to take my dog for a walk in the park, and I've ended up
no. What I was saying is that the singles that I'd written were the stuff that I never really wrote for an album. It was meant to meet a brief for uni, and in stuff I like those as individual tracks, but I never really wrote them for anything. Whereas with the documentary, a lot of this time, I mean, I'm writing it primarily for a documentary, so I'm often mimicking styles. So my master's is looking at YouTube diss track culture, and so I'm very much trying to match a lot of the styles that you might see in those sorts of videos. So I've done stuff in the style of KSI, for example, like some of his earlier diss track stuff, or a Rice Cum, which the producers are called Dream Addicts, I believe. Stuff in the style of Zishan, who's done KSI's music. So it's mimicking styles. In terms of whether I listen to it and think, would this be an album or would this be a single, but like just standalone, not as part of a bigger project, it is that vibe that I picked off. So one of my mates, going back to the streaming thing, the music challenge, that first music challenge, there was this really sort of trappy beat that me and one of my mates came up with. He wrote like the challenge was like a roulette challenge, where we each do a different part of the song, and my mate wrote the melody and I wrote like the drums and like the bass to it, and then one of my other mates wrote like this jangly thing to it. And when we got to listening to it, it was like, man, this pops. And then it's like, I would happily, it's like I wanted to take this to be a documentary because it had the right vibe for the documentary.
Okay, right. So unfortunately, due to Joel's piece of shit phone, we've had to cut the video. So the rest of this will be in audio. But I was just asking about the presence of music, what you make it for. Is there anything in mind that you have specifically?
Well, before my video cut out, I was on the lines of talking about this track that I was developing from Twitch and was going towards the documentary. And so, yeah, it was like, yeah, this vibe. So I put it in the documentary. And then we got to, well, like when I've started working on it, the more I think about it, it's like, yeah, this would be a tune that would be great to develop. So, like, there are a few tunes on the documentary which I think, I can take a hard pass because it's more mimicking a genre I'm not really, or a style that I'm not really interested in. But at least with the some of the instrumental stuff, like it's more the ethnic sounding things, where I'm like, yeah, this pops. Like, I think it's finding my style more than anything, and I'm gradually liking like some of the hip hop stuff. So like the sort of general 808 sort of layered kits and all that, and then sort of layering it with some of the ethnic instruments and getting some quite interesting sounds from it. So yeah, it at this stage it's finding my style, at least when it's developing more of my personal music stuff. So in terms of albums and that, I'm still yet to release an album, but yeah, I'm finding my ground more than anything, and finding what sort of stuff I would like to show to the public.
Cool, no worries, thank you. I was going to ask, in comparison for music and streaming, are there any challenges that you think you faced going from music into streaming? Is there anything that you wasn't expecting, or did you find it a lot easier because you had this already applicable knowing of stress and pressure? Or was it literally just like walking into, I don't know, fucking a Marks and Spencer's to find out it's actually just a Lidl?
I love that comparison. Not really, because the other thing is I've spoken about doing streaming and music, but I think really from having done my course at uni and from dabbling in projects, so my final year project, I ended up running a music promotion thing for gigs and all that. I ended up doing like a lot of the poster design, minus like the first couple, or the first one. But yeah, it's kind of allowed me to cross into different realms pretty easily because there's this transferable knowledge of sort of media, and sort of editing it in different shapes and forms. So audio wise, I'm kind of comfortable with. If you said I needed to bash out professional projects, then it might be a bit more like, okay, I need to focus a little bit harder here. But in terms of doing a basic project, so in the case of swapping from music into Twitch, it was generally not too bad. The only problem, at least swapping over into Twitch and doing streaming, is that I have slowly discovered that I need to get a much better gear. Like a MacBook sounds like, oh yeah, so you've got this fancy ass MacBook which we can run with. Except it's 5 years old, it's mostly full, and in terms of streaming, you need to have very good processors, and I'm very sure that my i5 processor is becoming a little bit outdated.
Essentially, right now, you just have a hamster running in a wheel trying to power it for you.
Yeah. So very quickly, I was like, how do I sort this problem out? Because I think, yeah, so I was doing the music stuff, and then I did a game stream, and then that went terribly because I was playing games at like 2 frames per second, and I was like, this is not going to work. So then I stuck to music, and then at home, I decided to try and stream my PlayStation stuff on Discord, which worked very briefly before it didn't. And then it's like, I didn't really want to go into it, but I started then streaming directly from my PlayStation, and my streams can dip in and out, and it's not great by any means, but it's being able to find a problem and work around it. And I think that came from both my placement, because I worked at a music venue, relatively big. We've had some big names there, so that's helped in doing like last minute diagnostics, because almost certainly we'd have things go wrong in some way, shape or form. Like, there were only a few gigs which were actually like, oh, okay, we've got like an hour, let's go have a pint of beer or whatever. So it's developing that sort of problem solving skills, and again with the last year of uni, as I said, going into sort of designing post-production sound, you kind of learn to so with that you'll have a brief which is like, design this sort of noise, and you're like, how do I work around that? And it's finding the methodology to be able to go, oh, okay, this is what I need to do. I'm gonna, if this goes wrong, how do I then work around it? So a lot of it is problem solving. In the case of me, a lot of it is, again, accepting that I've not got good gear and that I have to find alternatives. And yeah, generally, I think the only challenge per se that I've had is getting used to a broadcasting like software. So OBS is like open broadcasting software, so it's like free stuff that you can use to broadcast your stuff live. Learning the ins and outs of it was a bit kind of what's this, but it wasn't actually that difficult to learn. It's more, oh, okay, I need to have something much better to run the gear, because a lot of the problems came from the fact that it's eating up a lot of my processing power.
Fair do. Just a couple of quick ones then, and then I'd be happy to end it here. I feel like in this last 31 minutes 35 seconds we've gotten to know quite a lot about you, Mr. Felix.
Thanks. I hope I've educated you in my own ways.
Yeah, I mean, I'm ready to go out and buy a fucking weeb outfit, show my tits on Twitch, and just get shit tons of followers. But I'll stick with this for the time being.
Well, we like your rabid reviews. What can we say?
Oh, cheers, man. You're so cute.
Oh.
Wait till I see you. I'm going to fucking kiss you so much.
Oh, I'm going to kiss you back hard.
Oh, stop it. Wait until we finish recording. Then show me your cock. But if you had to choose between music or streaming, what would you pick? So you can only ever do music or only ever do streaming. What would you pick?
That's actually a really good question. Oh, I could not pick.
Well, I'm afraid you're going to have to.
Oh, I'm sorry. So I can't stream music.
No, you can put music into... So you can't ever make music or you can't ever stream.
I'm just going to put this out here. There are streamers who make their living by doing music and streaming it.
Oh, don't be this guy.
I know. I'm just
pointing.
I'm pointing out merely. I'm pointing out. Now it would seem ironic to then say, "Oh, turn my back on music and say content creation," but I think content creation opens a lot of different platforms, so it allows me to showcase the fact it allows me to do gaming and do it for fun. At the same time, it's very intense, so making music I can at least start and stop and feel free. I don't know. It is a difficult one. I would probably go with content creation because it opens up lots of different avenues. So you can do like comedy sketches, gaming videos. I know you're going to say, no, I said music but I would have the potential to maybe play around with doing music, at least in the performance side. But if it is actually, having said that, if you are to say I could only stream or do music, I can't give up drumming. I can't. It's in my blood.
Good answer. In your blood?
Yeah, did you
Why
not
do you
know?
have drums in your blood? You should probably go to the doctors about that, mate. That's a big fucking amount of
Mate,
cops
I've
you're
got
gonna have in your
riding
bloodstream.
4-4 in my veins.
Fuck you.
An inside joke for anyone listening in.
Joel just can't play Riding 4-4, but that's all it is. Moving swiftly on. Final question, and if you give me the wrong answer, then you're disgusting. Custard creams or chocolate bourbons?
I love this. This came from bloody podcast. Custard creams or bourbons? Probably a custard cream.
I'll allow it. I don't know what the fuck that was. I think it was my inner fucking demon coming out, but...
You're like, there's only one right answer, and I've got it, and you're like, yeah, I'll allow it, which means there wasn't just one right answer.
I mean, of course you'd go for custard creams, so I mean...
I'll let you know why, and it's because chocolate bourbons, they're a little bit towards the darker side of chocolate, and it's not like particularly nice chocolate. Like, I value good chocolate. If you were to tell me like a bar of dairy milk or a custard cream, I'd pick a bar of dairy milk any day. I'm a fan of chocolate, but bourbons is it's the inferior chocolate biscuit.
Oh, right, I'm gonna end this stream here before I have a fucking...
Aneurysm.
Yeah, and fuck. I mean, you're so wrong for that, but yeah, I'm gonna end this here.
The
I
true
just wanna say
OGs are Pink Panthers.
No, mate. Oh, shut up. You're making it worse. Fucking hell. Jesus Christ. Pink Panthers. Fuck off. Pink fucking Panthers, mate. If you're going to go for an OG, at least go for a chocolate digestive.
I mean, a digestive is true, but nothing beats a good old Pink Panther. That's my childhood right there.
Fuck off, right. Thanks to Joel for fucking sitting and doing his artist profile. I'm afraid I now fucking hate him after those last two answers. A custard cream and a fucking Pink Panther. What the fuck is wrong with you? Oh, anyway.
I like jazz.
Fuck you. Our brand new podcast, New Nerds, at the time of this recording should be out by now.
Yeah.
Well,
that's up on YouTube.
Well, by time of release, not time of recording. Sorry. Time of release, our brand new podcast, New Nerds, should be out. I will make sure to link it down below.
Yeah, do check it out because that it's a fun watch. We just talk about a lot of random shit. We talk about news. We talk about games. We talk about music because all of us kind of have some interest in that. You know,
must have interest in breathing and eating food. I'm in.
Yeah, on the stream we talk about Sergeant Price and how someone has left gold.
Oh yeah, just fucking.
You need to watch it. Is all I'm saying.
Yeah, just go and watch it. It's so fucking stupid. Not the podcast, but what we fucking talk about. People are morons. And I fucking hate people, especially people who pick custard creams and Pink Panthers. But anyway, thank you for watching this brand new segment. I hope you enjoy it, and I'll make sure to list all of Joel's socials, including his Twitch, down below so you can go and check him out. So thank you ever so much for watching, and have a good day.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, you're more than welcome, mate. You're more than welcome.
Thank you.
You can give me that blowy we agreed to afterwards. Weird.